it would be remiss of us not to discuss the VAR botch-ups from the weekend. Should football accept human error from VAR? I'm about to tell you there has been a casualty as far as that is concerned. Game-changing decisions this weekend, but can it be allowed to be used as an excuse? It's understood VAR's Lee Mason forgot to draw offside lines on Brentford's equaliser against Arsenal. Elsewhere, Brighton were denied a goal against Palace after the offside line was drawn from the wrong Palace defender, after Estupiñán had scored for De Zerbi's side. All sorts of mess-ups there. A total botch-up in that game between Palace and Brighton. And the man in charge of VAR that day was John Brooks. In the last few moments, Martin, I hear that John Brooks has been replaced as the VAR operative, if you like, for both the game at Anfield tonight, Liverpool-Everton, and he was in line to be on VAR duty at Arsenal-Manchester City on Wednesday. So the PGMOL, if it indeed is them, swinging the axe and saying, no, you're no longer on duty. Is that the right response, Martin?
Well, I mean, we want to assume John Brooks then, if he's on all these big games, was our best man in the VAR chair. Is it reaching, Jim, the stage where we almost have to suspend VAR until we get it absolutely right? Because, I mean, these are glaring. To forget to put a line in. I mean, I'm just trying to look at a comparable of that in any other job, any other walk of life.
You can't suspend it mid-season. Not when you've had a season of it, obviously.
Well, no, because obviously we want to progress, and the Premier League will want to be groundbreaking and leading in its way as a league that it is, and it wants to make changes. But
you can kick out the individual that's messed up, and they've done that in this instance.
I know, but you have to look at the process. If we're making all these individual decisions, have we got enough people in the actual booth itself? We saw the World Cup work fantastic.
I think they have.
Well, you do, but I don't. Okay, how about that? I disagree with you. In the World Cup, there were 7 people in that room, and they got everything pretty well right, Jim, didn't they? So there were good people, top people, well trained. We're getting it wrong. Maybe there's not enough people. Maybe they're not taking enough time. Just take your time and get the decision right. I mean, this is massive impact on the Premier League.
Well, they seem to have the right people. They seem to have experienced people. Andre Marriner and David Cook will assume VAR duties in Brooks' place tonight and on Wednesday at the Emirates. So Marriner and Cook, massively experienced. One would hope they don't botch up.
Yeah, but I'm looking at Lee Mason being involved in a succession of mistakes in the VAR room. How many mistakes are you allowed to make? I mean, okay, we don't want to come down too hard on people because it's a brand new technology. So I'm looking at the systems. I'm looking at the overall. It's not just one person. It's a group of people making mistakes. So therefore, maybe they need to look at the system here, and maybe more people need to be involved to make the right decisions, Jim, because it has lasting effects, doesn't it? Look at Brentford this weekend getting look. A lot of people say they deserved it, but not really. When you look at the offside line, offside is offline. Offside. This is the one area they told us they can't make mistakes. Well, they're making glaring mistakes.
They made a glaring mistake. I mean, Lee Mason, for the game between Arsenal and Brentford, forgot to draw offside lines. Now, we are being told, Simon, due to tonight's fixture between Liverpool and Everton, appointments for the weekend's matches will be announced tomorrow. That's all they can do, isn't it? When there are red faces all around, they've got to take steps.
I mean,
you can't abandon VAR halfway through the season.
No, and you're not talking about VAR, you're talking about the human interaction with it. You're not talking about the technology, you're talking about the interpretation of it. And with that in mind, unless you're going to build a total artificial intelligence model that's completely automated, so we're watching Tron on our TV screen, you're going to interact with human error. The tragedy for referees is that everyone else seems to be allowed to be able to make mistakes. Managers, owners, players, they're all allowed to make mistakes. But a referee's not allowed to make a mistake. There's no way you're going to get 100%. Now, do we look at VAR? Is there a case to say that VAR's got more right than it's got wrong? I think the evidence tells you that it has.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, you're talking about a better quality of interpretation. Now, Martin, maybe I'll be right. What lessons can you learn? What can you take away from a crowded booth? Too many cooks? Or real substance behind an interrogation of a decision? How do you price in human error? How do you price in a failure for someone to not do their job? Do you build that into the margins and say if you've got an internet connection, is your internet connection up all year, every day? No, it's down for about 2% of the year. That's what happens. If you get 2% of the decisions wrong, it happens. Do you build someone's confidence? If a player makes a mistake, Martin would suggest that you patronise that player, get him his confidence and maybe put him back in the side and keep him there. Why throw a referee out? Throw him out because he's got no confidence. Basically, name and shame him. The idea that referees are immune to making human error based on opposite situations is ridiculous. It's bloody silly, and I'm tired of the media badgering of it. I watched a journalist go after Graham Potter on Friday because of Chelsea's game, and there was a situation in that game, and Potter wanted to be relatively balanced about it. But the journalist wasn't happy with that. They wanted to get a quote from a manager saying how much they dislike VAR. He'd already answered the question, but they came back and they came back and came back to eventually...
Just after the Suchet incident.
Correct.
Saturday.
Now, the bottom line is that the errors are going to be made. VAR is not immune to human interaction. And with that in mind, I really do think there does need to be... We are in a situation where VAR came about because people would not stop complaining about human error from referees. So now you've added another layer of technology in there, which if you remove away the sentiment and look at the fact, the thing that football doesn't like to do sometimes...
It'd be good if they got it right, though, wouldn't it?
All the time. Not possible. The only way you're going to get it right all the time is if you build artificial intelligence and make it completely automated. If you're going to put a human in front of it, humans are
It's
fallible.
semi-automated, isn't it?
It's semi-automated. Now, what you've got to be faithful in, do we now believe that... Two things should happen, I believe. Referees should speak to the media and account to some of the decisions they make the same way as everyone else does. And also, there should be a belief that it's going to evolve. Is Howard Webb the right person? I would advocate for the fact he is. I think he'll front up quicker. I think he'll react faster. I think he'll look for better solutions. And he'll own the outcomes.
Yeah.
None of that we've seen previously. That must mean, in the same way that football legislates for human error in every other aspect, it must price in human error.
But is
for
football
referees.
ready to accept human error?
Well, why shouldn't it be? Why shouldn't it be?
So should we just accept then that at
Depends how much error
Arsenal-Brentford,
we're talking about.
Lee Mason, very, very experienced official, on VAR duty that day, forgot to draw offside lines on Brentford's equaliser.
That ruler should be under his arm, shouldn't it? With that pen.
Mason
How do
had
you forget to
instead
put lines in?
focused on a possible offside offence a few seconds earlier.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, Jim. I
So
don't
why is
want
he
to
in
point
the truck?
Yeah, but no.
Because that's
but
his
if there's
subject
somebody
of
else
expertise.
alongside him, then he doesn't make that mistake, does he? That's what that's why I don't want to go after any one individual. It can't rely on one person, can it? So there was a group of people there already, so there were other people with him. So it's not just Lee Mason, but I think going forward we need more. We need to copycat the World Cup.
It's a fine balance between paralysis by analysis, right? We can't have times. You've got to get to this decision quickly. You've got to get there effective, and you've got to have trained eyes that are capable. When the police drive a car in pursuit of people, they take something called an advanced driver's test, which means they can drive at high speed. Average person cannot. They're trained to do that. Referees should be trained and effective in being get to an outcome in a recent timeline. We can't have 7 people in there deliberating, pontificating, different sets of eyes.
We're putting former referees into that position. Maybe they're not suited to that. Maybe they're just simply not suited to that.
Maybe the training
Martin,
isn't
Stephen
good
Lincolnshire.
enough.
What's Martin on about? More people managing VAR. It's not rocket science.
No,
We can manage driving trains with one person. I'm pretty sure we can do the same thing with VAR.
Well, there was no train driver on my train this morning. I had to wait 15 minutes and there was no communication
You
as to
came
why.
in with no driver in your
Absolutely
train?
no driver from Oxford Station
Was the
this
thing
morning.
out of control?
Taking the mickey.
Goodness me.
But never
What's
mind.
it coming to?
If there were 2 drivers available, we might have actually left on time. But
What are
there
you, a
go.
union man now? Get Mick Lynch in and have 3.
Get Mick Lynch
I'm
on
talking
VAR.
about let's copy what we did in the World Cup, Jim. Let's do it. Okay,
But we don't
look like
actually know what they did in the World Cup.
Yeah, we do. There's 7 people in
Well,
the
we
I've
don't
just
know
told you.
why there was 7 and what
because
their individual...
because of the jeopardy involved.
But again, Martin, that's an assumption on your part. Whatever lessons they can have learned, and you're right, they didn't take the lessons from the World Cup first time round because we didn't go with the monitor. We decided, the Premier League, that we weren't going to go with a monitor for the first year of VAR, which makes no sense. So I do concur with your view, but it's very important to look down the line and say, what is it that we're trying to achieve? How much error can we factor in? Seemingly, to all the talking heads like Lineker and Shearer and all those people that have never, ever, ever made a mistake in their life, there is zero tolerance for individual mistakes and human error. It's priced in because their background position is we don't want VAR in there in the first place.
No, I think we're looking now. We're in our 5 years that since
3.
it was introduced in the World Cup in Russia. and we've pretty well used it almost since then. So is
delayed the season,
it getting better?
It's
or
a Brighton fan going with you, man.
Is it getting worse?
It should be suspended till they get it right.
Here's
Well,
the thing,
can.
Jim.
But we're halfway through the season.
But what does right look like? What does right look like? Are we really saying, because I would like to understand this, 100% no error? If you're saying that...
For offside?
Well, for any decision-making
forget
process...
to line it up with the last player.
That's poor performance, it's human error. But if we're talking about humans, take the humans out of it, right? Have an automated system. We aren't at that point yet. So if we're going to go with human error, are you out of your minds? What are you asking for? 100%, every single decision.
That's why I'm asking you to delegate it with a bigger group in the booth.
But you still won't get 100%.
No, you won't. But you've got a better chance of making that, haven't you? By the way, here's the thing.
But how many times does it get it
How
right?
about the match day referees just being a whole lot better than they are? I know the linesman's told not to put his flag up. He must have seen.
And that's agreed, Martin.
Something was wrong.
But we've spent years with that one, with endless carping and bitching and whining and criticising, and referees getting absolutely slaughtered to this point where they were getting death threats from people.
Yeah.
That on the pitch stuff needed support. We're at this point because on the field stuff now, if we can get to a bottom line analysis, how much better is VAR than what we had before? If it's 10% better, how much better can it get? I would wager you anything you want that VAR has got more right than was previously the situation when we didn't have VAR.
Of course it has.
Yeah, but every week we're
Isn't that better? Isn't that progress there?
You would think so.
We've had experience of VAR getting involved when it really shouldn't get involved. We're now getting the lines wrong. You know, they just fundamentally need to get together. This is a really important meeting. I'd love to be a fly on the wall, by the way, in this meeting.
But again, Martin, that's human intervention. VAR isn't some automated process. Doesn't have VAR. A human being has to decide, I'm going to get involved. So again, it's human judgment.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.